And
Hi everyone. My name is Jill Murray. I am a fourth grade teacher in New York City, and I also do some after school work for the Norwalk Housing Authority. So I just am happy to be here and happy to be with all of you. And I'm a native of Norwalk, born and raised here.
hey, I do ask that everybody mute their put themselves on mute until you're ready to speak, just because it makes it easier to hear everybody. And we are going to introduce some people to give some opening remarks. We have the mayor with us today, so I'll introduce Mayor Harry Rilling to start us off.
Thank you very, very much, Vicki. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited because we're on the eve of an historic event.
Yes.
We are about to install and inaugurate the first African-American woman vice president of the United States. And this should be a message to all that achieving your dreams is a real possibility. And it's because of advocates, people who fought for the right to vote, people who fought for civil rights. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is the champion of them all. And I'm so happy that we have so many young people who decided to participate in this event, because I'm sure your research has given you new insight into the heroic efforts of Dr. King, who was so passionate about making sure that everyone had equal rights. So I congratulate all of you who participated. Congratulations to those whose essays were selected. And always strive to learn more about our history, about our country, and the great men and women who were advocates for civil rights. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just want to say thank you for those words. Yes, so I have the privilege of introducing Brenda Penn Williams, who is the NAACP president. Ms. Williams.
Good evening. As we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and continue to hear his message throughout the halls of our schools and community, we must remember his message on equality. We come together every year in remembrance of this great man and celebrate his life as a reminder to continue to fight for justice and equal access to education, employment, and standing without being judged. We have a lot of work to do, but continue to realize the meaning of his message as we watch what is happening across our nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a champion of equality, and his dreams of opportunity in life for everyone can still become a reality. I would like to congratulate all the recipients of this award, and thank you all for writing your essays. That was great. I understand we had over 140 people. Awesome. That is really great. And again, congratulations to the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda Penn Williams.
Yes, thank you. That was wonderful. I'd like to introduce now State Senator Bob Duff.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. So great to see so many folks here on the video, and all of our young people who have decided to join in, and those who submitted their essays. I had the great fortune of being one of the judges over the weekend and really, really enjoyed reading all the essays, whether elementary, middle school, or high school, and how you viewed Dr. King and how you viewed how you can shape your lives based on his principles and his values, and how you will carry that into what you will do into the future. So I want to say congratulations to everyone for all the work that you've done, and for really helping to let us as adults see what's on your mind and how you plan on making the world a much better place. I think for all of us, when we think back to Dr. King and really, you know, all the things that he's talked about, all the sayings that he had, all his sermons, all the messages of nonviolence and peaceful protest and loving your neighbor, there were just so many great inspirational words and phrases that he said in his very short life. And you know, for any of us who, especially in public service, we hope to have just as much of a deep impact as he did, or others who have fought for civil rights or justice or equality, and ensuring that we are moving our communities forward in his way, in the way that really means that everybody has opportunities to be successful. So I think I had written on my Facebook page yesterday one of his quotes, which is one of his more famous quotes, which says, "The arc of a moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And how do we get to that? I think what I had written was that we, as somebody like myself, as a state senator, we work hard, we fight for justice, and I try and do that every day as your state senator. But also, I think most importantly is that we have to inspire the next generation to pick up the baton and lead, and that's where you all come in. So I think with the quality of the essays that we saw, that we're in great shape for the future. And again, thank you so much for all that you're doing, and for inspiring us, and keep leading. As was said earlier, we need you right now more than ever, and we appreciate the work that you do and the words that you wrote and the leadership that you will give in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Senator Bob Duff. So great to see you. And now we have the privilege of introducing Alex Knott, Newark Public Library Board President.
Well, thank you. I want to first thank the Board of Education and the Norwalk NAACP for partnering with the Norwalk Public Library on this event. Unfortunately, this year we've missed many of the traditional gatherings for celebration of Dr. King's birthday, like the breakfast at West Rocks or the celebration at the City Hall. So if we can't all get together in person, I think getting together to read and discuss and hear the students read their wonderful essays is probably the best substitute that we could have. I'm fortunate to have heard Dr. King speak several times, and I am pleased to have been able to work in the area of the law and politics on behalf of civil rights. Currently, I'm a consultant to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund on the Connecticut school desegregation case called Sheff versus O'Neill. And I'm glad to say we've made a lot of progress, but we still have a long way to go. And it's important to remember that for all of the things Dr. King dreamed about and spoke about, he also said that America needs to cash the check to make sure everybody has the funds and resources they need to get ahead. So I'm glad to be able to participate today. I don't get the chance, probably like some of us, to read many student essays these days. And as I was, like Bob Duff said, one of the judges, and I was really touched by two things that the students wrote about. One was how much they involved their personal lives in the idea of the struggle for civil rights, talking about their aspirations to be artists or to be physicians and heal in the community or support people who are in need. That really meant a lot. And the other was how much they connected Dr. King's messages to what's going on in society today. And a number of the essays mentioned the connection about how protesters in Black Lives Matters were treated compared to how the insurgents who attacked the Capitol on January 6th were treated. And I think I was very moved by their willingness to connect what Dr. King was talking about, not just as a historical reference, but something in their own lives and in our own society today. So I really want to thank the students, and I'm looking forward to hearing them read their wonderful and winning essays tonight. Thanks again for inviting me and the library to participate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Knopp. So now we're going to get on to the main part of our evening. I'm going to introduce James Martinez. He is the former Fox Run Elementary School principal. He is the district-wide director. He is now the district-wide director of school counseling at Norwalk Public Schools. He is going to announce the elementary school winners, and then we will hear them read their entries.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to dive right in and name the winners, because I'm sure that the students are really anxious and eager to know who, whether or not they are on that list of winners. And then I'm going to mention just a quick word of thanks to this whole process. Has been incredible. So I'm going to start with, these are the elementary school winners. Third place in grade 5. At the Kendall College of Career Academy, we have in third place, Guadalupe Trejo Reyes. Congratulations to Guadalupe, grade 5 over at Kendall College and Career Academy. For second place, we have also at the Kendall College of Career Academy, another grade 5 student. We have Ariana Brown, second place. Congratulations, Ariana. And the first place spot is taken by a Columbus Magnet School student in grade 3. And the name of the student is Riley Wiggins. Congratulations to Riley for first place for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest winners. We all the judges, we were all humbled by reading all these essays. There's no better time in the nation's history than now to be able to celebrate this, to be able to hear the words and the innocence and the authenticity of our youth in such a tough time in this country. But we are going to prevail, and we're going to turn that corner because of the young people that we have before us who have been able to put in writing. And this was really hard, by the way. And I'm sure the judges are going to agree with me that to really narrow it down to 3 essays, especially in the elementary level, was tough. But congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to all that submitted entries. We're very proud of every single one of you. Thank you so much.
So I was co-judge with Jim Martinez. I got to read all of these elementary school essays, and they were just phenomenal. There were over 80 submissions, and it was incredibly difficult to narrow it down to the top 3. But I am so excited to hear these winners read their essays out loud. So let's start with Guadalupe Trejo Reyes. Are you there? Can you read for us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. Do you like reading about biographies? Well, what do you know? I do too. Martin Luther King was one of the many biographies I love to read about. He was important for his peaceful protests, speeches, and etc. Many of his protests and speeches were mostly about one topic, segregation. If you want more knowledge about Dr. King, keep reading to find out more facts about Martin Luther King Jr. What was Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream? King's dream was, I have a dream that 4 little children will one day live in a nation will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I think his dream was special because it states how his children shouldn't be judged by the skin color, but by their content of their character. This shows that his dream affected the world and how it stands today. Another famous quote was, I personally love that I find inspiring is, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. By all means, keep moving. To me, this quote means a lot because even if you can't use your arms or legs, he wants you to keep moving because Giving up wasn't a word in his vocabulary. This shows that Dr. King's dreams are important to our community. My dream is for doctors to find a cure and we can all be safe. Another dream is to succeed in my job in the future. Dr. King's dreams were not like any other dream. He inspired many people like me. He discussed his emotions towards segregation and how he wanted those laws to change. You may ask, how does he inspire you? Well, he makes every word in his speech feel important. I want my job in the future to be what I do for the rest of my life and to keep growing and succeeding in what I do in the future. Dr. King's dream is important to me because he really impacted lives and he gave anyone, regardless of their skin color, the right to speak up and to be confident about themselves. He also protested for the rights they wanted, even if it would cause them to get into lots of trouble, like being arrested. As a result, I hope my essay inspired you as much as it inspired me. Never underestimate the power of dream. Like he would say, keep moving.
That was beautifully said, Guadalupe. Thank you so much, and congratulations again. Let's all give a round of applause. All right, we are going to move on to our second place winner, Ariana Brown, also from Kendall College and Career Academy. Are you there, Ariana?
Yes.
Great. All right. Looking forward to hearing your essay.
Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was a peaceful civil rights leader. He was born and lived in a time where people of color were treated unfairly, had no rights, and were segregated. In the South, during segregation, people of color were not able to enjoy the same amenities as the whites. For example, people of color would not eat at the same establishments if they were not allowed to buy food from the same place as whites. They had to enter through the back doors. Children of color were not able to attend the same schools as white children. In public, there were separate restrooms and water fountains labeled color and whites only. If a person of color was caught breaking the law, such as drinking out the wrong water fountain, they would be arrested and sometimes even beaten. These laws were very harsh and unjust. As a child and teenager living in the South and being treated so poorly as well as his family, Dr. King decided to start a movement. His movement started with a bus boycott that lasted over a year, in which colored people refused to ride the bus because they had to sit in the back or give their seat to a white person. This boycott led to Dr. King's house being bombed. After the boycott ended, and the state court ruled to end segregation on all Montgomery buses. Dr. King became famous in the spoken for the civil rights movement. Thereafter, Dr. King began many peaceful protests and marches to end segregation, also known as Jim Crow laws, in order to allow equality and voting rights for all. On August 28, 1963, Dr. King gave a speech about his dream at his march in Washington. This speech would later became famous and one of the best speeches in American history, known as the I Have a Dream speech. After giving his speech, it helped put the civil rights agenda as a top priority, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was created. Dr. King believed that all people, no matter what color you are, should be treated equally. He worked with so many people and traveled all over the country giving speeches and protesting for change, and up until he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. If it weren't for Dr. Martin Luther King movements, people of color might have not had their rights. Even though we have our rights now, doesn't mean we are completely equal as white people are. We have to work a lot harder than others. This past year, we as a race and even other races witnessed how people of color are still treated differently from whites. There have been many protests and peaceful marches around this world this year because of how the police have been beating and even killing Black people. Though there were white people, the and marched back. In Dr. King's time, this time around it was different because some white people felt what people of color have been going through all their lives firsthand. At these protests, people could see what was happening in real time on the television. I am very proud of all the people, no matter what color you are, have taken a stand and have spoken up against racial inequality. I think once we realize a problem exists, this is the first step to take in order to fix it.
That was a wonderful essay, and you did such a great job reading that. Thank you so much, and congratulations again, Ariana. Another round of applause. We're going to move on to our first place elementary school winner, third grader from Columbus Magnet School, Riley Wiggins. Riley, are you there?
Yes.
All right, we're looking forward to hearing you read your essay. Congratulations.
When will change come? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. represented equality for all, not just people of color, in a time where people of color or anyone who supported people of color were discriminated against. He led marches and made speeches to get people to open their minds, that we are all one. I wonder why people are treated differently just because of their skin color or background. If Dr. King were alive today, his eyes would be filled with tears to see all the hate and injustice going on in the world. 400 years after slavery, the question is still asked, are we really free? When will the blindfold be taken off and people stand up for what is right, so we can all get along? Even though segregation is not legal, you can clearly see the friction and lack of energy when it comes time to support people of color. Our school systems receive less money to support our needs. Our communities are left with no attention. Why? Can't we have nice things too? I sat with my family and saw the difference in treatment that was given last week at the Capitol. In the summertime, there was so much killing of people who looked like me by the hands of people who are supposed to protect us. When we came together to protest peacefully, we were beaten, tear-gassed, and killed. Looking last week, nothing was done even close to the way we were treated. The difference in their behavior and ours was extremely different. One was peacefully done for a greater cause, while the other was hostile. When will we all be able to stand together like Dr. King said and hold hands? When can people of color walk the streets without others clenching their purses and calling the cops because of their skin color? If I wore a hoodie and my Caucasian friend wore a hoodie, I would be treated like a criminal or a hoodlum just because of the article of clothes I have on and my skin complexion. It is time for a change in the way we think. It is time to let Dr. King's words ring loud and clear. If we all came together and worked together, this world would be a better place.
Thank you so much for those amazing words. Congratulations, Ariana, and congratulations to the rest of the elementary school winners. Another quick round of applause for everybody, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jill, who will help make the announcements for the middle schoolers.
Thank you, Vicki. Everyone, elementary, you did a wonderful job. I am so proud of you. I wish some of you were in my class. Now, moving on to middle school, I'm going to introduce Jay Novelette Peterson, and she is the executive officer of the Carver Foundation. She will announce the winners.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you? It is a pleasure for me to participate in this celebration. I was very impressed, and so are my fellow judges, with your knowledge of Martin Luther King legacy and learning how he influenced and inspired you. It was really wonderful to see. I have the privilege of introducing the middle school winners. I will start with third place. Third place is Isla Tucker from Roten Middle School. Isla is a 6th grader at Roten Middle School. Congratulations, Isla. Our second place winner is Shanice Daniels, also a 6th grade at Rhoton Middle School. Congratulations. And our first place winner, also from Rhoton Middle School, 6th grade at Rhoton Middle School, is Joalis Rosario. So congratulations to you all, and kudos to Rhoton Middle School.
Yes.
Three winners.
Very much so. Kudos to Rhoton is truly, it's great. They just swept the middle school away. And we're very proud of you. And we're going to hear from you right now. We're going to hear from Isla Tucker, who is our 3rd place winner. Isla, are you there?
I'm here.
Go right ahead.
It all started on January 15th, 1929, the day he was born. Martin had quite the childhood considering all the racial segregation in the South. Ever since Martin was a kid, he dreamt that everyone would be treated the same, no matter the color of their skin. Education also played a big part in his childhood. Martin's mom stepped in at a very young age and taught him how to read before he had even entered school. He became so intelligent that after completing elementary school, he barely went to high school and went to college around the age of 15. King graduated college in 1948 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology. Throughout King's life, he'd been fascinated by Henry David Thoreau's essays and poems, especially the one about civil disobedience. King aspired to be everything that Henry was, a good writer. Later in life, King took all of Henry's creations and accomplishments to heart. As a result, King made his own speech, I Have a Dream. He dreamt which you are all very familiar with. Martin wrote this speech not because he wanted to be like Henry, but because he knew it was what the people needed to hear. On August 28, 1963, 250,000 people came to listen to Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. He dreamt that one day one's color would not matter and that blacks and whites could be treated equally. He vaguely stated that he wanted both races to be able to use the same bathrooms, restaurants, stores, and schools. He wanted both races to get the same education. He wanted everybody to be treated equally no matter the color of one's skin. Martin Luther King's dream inspired millions of people, including me. He taught me that everyone should be treated equally. We're all human, and the color of one's skin should not define us as someone that we're not. King's speech calmed protests, boycotts, and marches. King continued to write more speeches that helped the world see things from a different perspective. After showing the world a different way to look at life, King's speech calmed King was absolutely shocked. But apparently so was a man named James Earl Ray. On a Thursday evening, April 4th, 1968, King was standing on his balcony when he was assassinated by James. He was immediately rushed to the hospital. Sadly, he had passed only within an hour. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech inspired me and so many people in different ways. It inspired some people to change the way they look at things, and some to be grateful and thankful for what privileges they have. You might be wondering, what made the speech so inspirational and why was it so important? Martin Luther King's speech brought attention and awareness to the civil rights movement, which had also been going on for a long time. But more importantly, he brought awareness to equality, fairness, and people's rights. Everybody should be able to have the same rights regardless of the way they look. People should be able to go to the same restaurants, ride the same buses, and go to the same bathroom, and get the same education as everyone else despite the color of their skin.
Thank you, Isla. Thank you so much. And as we said, it was a hard choice for choosing the middle school, so thank you so much. Shanice Daniels, would you like to read yours?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Can we see your face?
Hello.
Hi, Shanice. How are you?
Good.
Go right ahead, sweetheart. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. Martin Luther King Jr. was a man whose intent was to change the way people see others just because of their skin color. He wanted people to focus more on how much the person was worth on the inside instead of their appearance on the outside. He talked about the content of people's character and wanted us all to live equally together in peace. Seeing the world today, I believe his famous yet powerful speech has put a huge impact on the way African Americans live today. But with all of that progress, we are still far away from the dream. We can now walk the streets when we want, to eat, wear, read, play, and learn all together in peace with different races. But we still have a great work to do. The world's problems may have been fixed today from this speech and other activists, but outside somewhere, there's a small number of people who still don't believe in equality and are angry that we have won the battle and they haven't changed the true ways in their hearts. They try to take our freedom and justice and put us down, but there is one of them in a million of us who are still fighting to stop racism. From country to country, we stand tall and we aren't going down without a fight. This is America, and we have the freedom other countries don't. And for people to try to take that away is very wrong. We are still protesting, holding events, donating, etc. for equality. My aspirations is to bring people together in unity because of the magnificent beauty that it brings. I will do this by using my values of showing love and kindness to people, just like my mommy does, and I admire how she makes strangers smile and brightens people's day. Because of my values and what MLK taught us of treating people with fairness, I believe that I can obtain this wonderful goal. Martin Luther King's dream of freedom and justice of the amazing person that you are, and it's important to me because everyone deserves a fair chance in life. It is also important that regardless of how we see each other outside, we are not judged them look at their hearts on the inside. Although that desire has to have everyone created equal, we know this is a difficult outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanice. Thank you so much.
Hi.
All right. Oh, no, you're fine. Next, we're going to go to Jo Alice Rosario, also Rhoton Middle School. Would you like to read yours, Jo Alice?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we see you?
I tried to turn on my
Oh, okay. Go right ahead, sweetheart.
Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King's dream was that every person was seen for that person, not for his or her skin color, but their character, and that everyone was treated equally no matter how diverse they were. He also made a famous speech. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places shall be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Everyone walked united hand in hand. This is what it means to me and what will be seen in my future one day. My own aspiration is to be an artist. And as a person of color, I want to have my art speak equality, and I want my art to have power, anxiety, and determination of equality, filling the aroma. And to have that emotion break through and open people's eyes to what people like me have been seen as and fighting for, and not label us as gangsters, criminals, or compare us to animals. Around me, I see Black Lives Matter movement, but I still see inequality. I want to have our footsteps fall in sync, carrying around all the power and spirit of MLK, colored people, and Black people. As soon as people like me fight for justice, and I constantly ask myself, when will it end? How long? So I have to keep fighting to have people see what's going on in their acts. I know the protector and killer are in the same uniform, but I identify the protector that isn't full of ignorance and hatred for people like me. And I hope I can ignore the judgment of others, whether it's good or bad. This is the contribution I plan to make to continue MLK's dream. His valuable words have left a positive effect on all races, not just my race, because everyone deserves to be treated equally and fairly. It speaks volumes to my artistic aspirations, because one of my dreams is to fight for equality through creative expression. That's because as a colored person, I would have loved to have equality for people of color, and for people of color not to live in fear constantly and carrying around the anxiety of being compared, judged, named, called, and not to feel this, but to feel accepted and safe. Throughout all the years of the choices that colored people made to show that they want equality, that they want a quality of life for the future that have helped the next generation. But I want to know if this generation that will stop and make everyone understand that we as a race want equal opportunities. Slavery was abolished January 31st, 1865, but that didn't give us the equality we were hoping for. That only made future generations be mistreated, labeled, and more. The thing that interested me, even though slavery was abolished, is the treatment. The treatment stayed the same. MLK never stopped, and when he got tired, he never took a break. He continued marching, moving, speaking, and problem solving. That's what showed me I need to do on my journey. The importance of Dr. Martin Luther King's dream was simply wanting justice for all Black and colored people. He wanted no discrimination or racism for all races and for all races to coexist and treat each other fairly. In his dream, he also wanted all of the years of mistreatment to be overturned. What this means to me is that he didn't stop at one protest and just leave because he was tired. Instead, he continued to fight for my family and generations coming. This is what his determination and spirit did for me has helped the future of the world. He gave it another chance to fight. What he did gave me a place in the world. It also opened up the eyes and showed how important it was for people to be treated fairly. Don't look at my art through prejudiced eyes, but look at it for justice for all. I will be honest. I did not know what my art will do for others in the future. But my hope is I can have such an impact on at least one person's life because Dr. King did it through civil rights movement. And I want to believe in myself enough so that others will know no matter what the color of their skin, they too have a right to feel like they deserve a peaceful, racist-free world. That's what MLK wanted for kids who look like me.
Thank you, Jo Alice. Beautiful. Thank you. Let's give them all a round of applause. All right, thank you. And now we're going to move on to our high school. And I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Lynn Moore, who's been doing this for years. I've always seen her in the public and giving these awards to the high schoolers. My nephew happened to be a recipient last year. So I love that Dr. Lynn Moore hasn't stopped doing this. Dr. Lynn Moore, go right ahead.
Dr. Moore, I think you're muted.
She's muted, yes. I was just looking at her, she's muted.
Sorry, is that better?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
So good evening, everyone. I'm just very proud to announce the high school winners. The third place winner is Joanna Susan Gentle from Norwalk High, and she's a 9th grader. The second place winner is Ava Masuko, and she's at McMahon and also a 9th grader. So go 9th graders. And first place is Denali Baker, who is a 12th grader, a senior at Norwalk High School. So I'd like to start and ask if Joanna is present.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Good. So you may read your essay, Joanna.
Oh, Joanna, you're muted. If you could just unmute yourself. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Have we changed? As seen from the title, we will be asking a very important question. Have we changed? Now, to explain the question I have asked you, this revolves around the topic of racial equity, and specifically in this essay, racial equity towards people of color in America, and if we have achieved the amount we like to claim we have. Throughout this, I will be providing what I was taught in school, what I have had to teach myself, and lastly, the present day problems. Before I start, I would like to just say that this may be uncomfortable, but I believe it's necessary to advance and educate. To start us off, we will be mapping out what we were taught from a young age in school. Our timeline was that slavery was a very dark part of our history as a country, but it ended when the 16th president signed the 13th Amendment in 1865. There still wasn't true equity though, so people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks had to fight. They won, and that's where we stopped learning about people of color's history in America. Sure, there might have been a lesson here and there, but that is all we know from school. We were taught this history and were told about our part and that we overcame it, but is that true? Now the part where we get uncomfortable and dig deeper into the whole world of issues we weren't taught in school. One example is the absent father stereotype. This harmful stereotype is rooted in slavery. When slaves gave birth to children, fathers were extremely involved, so when masters took away their children, it became extremely traumatic. Over time, they became distant towards their children, so it would not hurt as much. Now, many may argue this history is not suited for young people. This is true, but we still were not even taught about African American heroes such as Robert Smalls and Kathy Williams, who are still deemed as too inappropriate to be taught to children and people who continue to study American history. So if you wanted to learn about these things, you had to do it on your own. Lastly, to present the most important, I am going to share how I realized what I thought I knew was wrong. About 4 months ago, I was walking home from school, as I did every day, and some person is walking in front of me with headphones and is listening to their music. I see a car pull up and some person rolls down their window and says extremely racist and disgusting things to the person in front of me who didn't even hear the things being said. I'm standing there in shock after the person drives off. I've never experienced something so blatantly racist. Although this incident felt so unreal to me, even though it has happened for decades. Now that we have discussed what I initially thought, what I had to learn, and lastly, what currently happens, I think it's time to ask ourselves this question. Have we changed? To whoever is reading this, ask yourself this question when you see someone clutch their bag around a person of color for no reason. Ask yourself this question when you see racist hate crimes with your own two eyes in the year 2020 and can't do a thing. And finally, ask yourself this question as you walk down the street or as you get pulled over and not wonder if you will be judged by the color of your skin and not the content of your character. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanna, and especially for sharing your personal commitment as well as your exposure to racism. At this point, Ava, are you available?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Ava.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a great man and social activist as he helped bring equality, freedom, peace, and basic rights to African Americans in the United States. His speeches and nonviolent protests opened the government's eyes to how they were treating people of color. Without him, our world would look a lot different. Even though African Americans are still fighting for equality today, Martin Luther King Jr. was a key piece in broadening the views of how people of color are just the same as white people, as the only difference is skin color. He organized different events to broadcast the cause he was fighting for, and those moments will be remembered in history forever. Equity means fair, and that's all Martin Luther King Jr. wanted. He believed in equality for all and that everyone should get the same opportunities in life. In education, it was clear that whites had more access to books and resources while blacks were less advantaged with low funding to learn. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated for better education and even wrote a short article in 1947 arguing about how children need to learn how to use their critical thinking and moral compass to achieve success later in life. Many of his fights for equality in education were local and didn't make it across America, but at least he tried to help make learning better for some children. His beliefs of education are used today through how teachers teach and by governments making schooling more accessible for those who cannot afford it. It was clear that since white people were more advantaged, they would live in nicer places than black people. This is where environmental equity plays in, as people of color would be living in poorer conditions with little to no money. Most jobs that African Americans had were the more dirty and dangerous ones where they got lower pay. Dr. King gathered people together to rally against these conditions and later on got the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act passed. He realized that poverty, low wage, and racial injustice were all linked together, making it much harder for African Americans to live. Today, Martin Luther King's actions for environmental equity are being used with climate change by bringing more people of color together to talk about these issues because these poorer communities don't have the resources to know what's going on. As expressed, there was and still is racial injustice amongst the Black communities of America. They continue to fight this inequality together. Martin Luther King's equity work helped Black people get the support and justice they needed. The most important thing Dr. King accomplished during his lifetime was the Civil Rights Act 1964, where segregation was no longer allowed. Martin Luther King is the definition of the word equity, as he was the best advocate for the Black community. He will always be remembered as an inspiration to stand up for what's morally right. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to working with you as well as Joanna in this fight against injustice. Denali, are you available?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Hi.
All right. Hi. All right. When one thinks of a protest, they might think of a group of people with signs marching along the streets and raising awareness to an issue they believe needs fixing. When a protest turns violent, it becomes classified as a riot, and most people look down on the use of violence to prove one's own beliefs. These ideas society has around peaceful protests has been influenced by the efforts that Martin Luther King Jr. had in achieving his goal. One of the strongest pillars in Martin Luther King's legacy is his use of nonviolent protests in achieving racial equality. His actions have proved how nonviolence provokes change, and they have set an example for other racial justice protests to follow. One of his most well-known protests was the Montgomery bus boycott, where King and his followers refused to take the bus for 381 days. This protest was easier said than done because, despite King's push for nonviolence, there was a violent response against these protests. His followers were sent death threats, King's own house was bombed, and King was found guilty and jailed for 2 weeks. Despite these setbacks, King continued his push for a peaceful change and urged his followers not to fight back with fists. It ended when the Supreme Court ruled the segregation of buses was unconstitutional. This protest, along with the myriad of protests King led and took part of, proved to the country how nonviolence works when demanding change. It showed people how, since nonviolence is proven to be successful, attacks are not needed in order to incite change. King's legacy inspired generations today to raise awareness and demand change for the problems they face in the world. Even though King and other civil rights activists helped abolish segregation at all public places, there is still racism and inequity in the world. The most prominent example in this day and age are the Black Lives Matter BLM protests in the summer of 2020. Even though the movement was founded in 2013, it gained momentum after a video of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck sparked outrage across the country. Despite the news showing videos of violent riots and raids, 93% of BLM protests were peaceful, according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, also known as ACLED. Martin Luther King gave the American people a blueprint for demanding change in a caring and harmonious society. These protests followed his peaceful actions and continued his fight in racial equity. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is widely known and celebrated in the United States with a day off on a Monday in January. Ever since elementary school, Dr. King has been ingrained in our education system, and his protests and speeches are known throughout the country. The legacy of Dr. King is important not only to learn about the man behind the push for racial equality, but to also set an example to students of a peaceful leader who succeeded in achieving his goals through nonviolence.
So Denali, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Here you are, a senior. You'll be graduating in 2021 this year, and we're very proud that as part of your portfolio, you will have an award as MLK Junior Essay winner. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and joining us. Vicki, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do want to thank Sherelle Harris, Interim Director of the Norwalk Public Library, for bringing this essay contest together. It has been a real honor to be part of this event. And I also want to thank the Norwalk branch of the NAACP Scholarship Committee. We would like to thank you for graciously providing the contest prizes for first, second, and third place winners in all 3 categories. So thank you very much for that.
And we also want to thank all the educators out there who help their students and help their children, and parents, of course, who help them to get these essays together. You know, you stayed on them, they got it done, and they are wonderful. Let's be the change that we want to see. Thank you so much. Sherelle, thank you for putting this together. Thank you, NAACP. Thank you, Senator Duff. Thank you to everyone who is here and who has contributed to the success of our children. Have a great night.
And thank you, Jill.
Hi, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.